Hilchas Eidus Perek Chamishi. Ein choitchen din men hadinim al pi eidachot. We don't paskin a din based on eidachot. Lei din in the forces, v'lei din in mominus. Shenama liyokim eidachot beish l'cholovin l'chol chatos. So maybe from that passage we learn out that based on an eidachot, you don't paskin not l'cholovin l'chol chatos. However, since the Torah writes liyokim eidachot beish l'cholovin l'chol chatos, is mipi Shmuel lamdu shekam hu l'shvua, that through an eidachot there becomes a chi of shvua, kabish biyarnu b'hilchastein, that when eidachot is made, so the eidachot is made, the causes that the person that is made against him should be mechuyev a shvua. And we discussed this in Teim V'Nitten, that there's machlekes rishenim whether or not eidachot is only mechayev a shvua together with a tainas bari of the tiveya. Now this Reuven is timing that for sure Shimon owes him money, and Shimon is timing that he doesn't owe him money. And now Reuven has the siyur of eidachot. So b'chiyah gavna for sure Shimon has to swear. What would be in a case where the whole taina of Reuven is based on what the eidachot is saying? It's not like Reuven knows for a fact that Shimon owes him money. Based on what the eidachot is saying, Reuven is saying, listen, there's an eidachot saying you owe me money, and Shimon is saying you don't owe me money. So the question is if an eidachot can mechayev a shvua only together with the tainas bari v'tiveya, or even without the tainas bari v'tiveya. The whole taina of the tiveya is based on the eidachot. That's a machlekes rishenim. The Rimagash holds that you need a tainas bari of the tiveya. Tesis holds you don't need a tainas bari of the tiveya. And Pasha Shittas Rambam is that you do need a tainas bari of the tiveya, because the eidachot is only mechayev shvua together with the tainas bari of the tiveya. Halacha beis. B'shnei mekemes hemina teira eidachot. There's two places we're saying that eidachot liyokem eidachot liish. We don't accept the agod of an eidus in order to be choyte chadin, but there's two places that we do accept it. That's b'soita, which is shalei tishta mehamorim, which the din is by a soita that if a woman was a soita, there was kini and stira, so then she's asura l'bayla unless she drinks from the mehamorim. Now, if there's an eidachot that say that during that stira she was nivala, so at that point in time she no longer has the ability to drink from the mei hamorim, and memela she's asura l'bayla, she goes out without eksuba, and she's established as being asura l'bayla. So the eidachot is believed legabi the tumah, and therefore she's no longer able to go ahead and drink from the mei hamorim, and that's the neger seita. And also by egla rufa the din is that if you find someone that died, that was killed, not died, someone that was killed, and you don't know mihi ko, so you have to go ahead and measure between the cities to establish which city is the closest city, and that city has to bring the egla rufa. Now, if there's an eidachot saying that they saw the person killing, so then there's no din of an egla rufa. So again, an eidachot, even though there's only an eidachot saying that he knows who the killer was, or he saw who the killer was, but nevertheless, so the eidachot is believed legabi the fact that you don't bring an egla rufa, that it's not considered v'leinei damihuko. Halacha beis nachamol. B'shnei mekemes hamina teira eidachot. There's two places where the Torah believed in eidachot. B'soita, which is shleitishta me'amorim, and therefore she's established as being tamei, and she no longer has the ability to drink the me'amorim. And also be'egla rufa, which over there is shalei teyorev, k'misha b'yanabim kema. Be'egla rufa, the namonis means that it's no longer of a leineda mihiko, because it's a neda. How's there a neda? The neda through the eidachot. That's two dinim. And then the chen midivreim, there's another din d'Rabbanan be'edus isha. Sheyoid lo shemes baila. The din is that an eidachot is naman to say that mes baila. And that din, the Rambam over here is saying that din is midivreim, be'edus isha, that eidachot is naman to say that mes baila. Now this din that an eidachot is naman to say mes baila, the Rambam brought Nilchas Gerushin, and over there the Rambam bepashas, there's two reasons why an eidachot is naman. First of all, the Rambam over there in Hilchas Gerushin says because it's a milsa davida lihigolis, it's something which could be known. In other words, if lepel he didn't die, the person could come. So mele is something which is avida lihigolis, an eidachot is naman. And then there's another reason which is brought down that mitei chumra shechmart anisha will be medayik or minsaba, because mitei chumra shechmart la b'seifa, so therefore he kilo la b'tchilasa. So the reason why eidach is naman to say that mes baila is first of all because the Rambam says because a milsa davida legluye, and also there's a reason because we say that the Isha will be Medayik, so she's not going to go ahead and get married unless she'll be Medayik. Now, the Maisa is, there's a big machlekes achreinim, if Shittas HaRambam is that an Eidachot is Naman Min HaTeira, or an Eidachot is only Naman Midrabanan Legabi Mezbaila, which is really, B'amas, is a hard thing to understand. How could the Rabbanan go ahead and be mater an Isha which was married, and there's an Eidachot saying Mezbaila, and if Min HaTeira she's not allowed to get married, so for the Rabbanan to say that she's allowed to get married. But I'll call upon the sheet of many Rishonim are the Pashas HaGemara is that it's only a din d'Rabbanan. So they were mekel, and it was a special din d'Rabbanan. You have to understand how the Rabbanan could do that roof, but the Lepel is a din d'Rabbanan. From Lashon HaRambam and Hilchas Gerushin, the Pashtan Mashmois over there is that since it's a Milsa Davida L'Gluya, so therefore on the Raisa Dikalav Eidachot is Naman. Over here, the Pashtas HaLashon sounds like the Rambam says V'chein Midivreim, that this whole din that Eidachot is Naman is only a din d'Rabbanan. So as we're saying, there's a big machlekes achreinim, whether or not the sheet of the Rambam be'emes is that it's a din d'Iraisa, and the reason why it says over here Midivreim because the Rambam says the things that are not mafurish because of is considered Midivreim, or no, that really be'emes the whole thing is only a din d'Rabbanan. And the Lechem Mishnah over here names on that it's a din d'Rabbanan, it's Lashon HaRambam v'chein Midivreim Eidus Isha sheyoid l'shemez baila. The Neidim Yehuda says that it depends if the Eidachot was made b'shem himself that he saw Mezbaila, so he's Naman. Masha'inkin, if he's an Eid Mepiyeh, then it's only a din d'Rabbanan. But there's a machlekes hachreinim b'negei shittas haram, and aldaras b'negei other shittas. What's this yisod of this din that in Eidachot is Naman to say Mezbaila? So we're saying again, the Ram in Hilchos Gerushin says because it's a milsa davida l'kuluya. Halacha Gimel. V'chein kol mokim she'eidachot moil is Isha Uposel Kemid. There's another din that whenever an Eidachot is Naman, so an Isha and Apostle is also Meidin. So in other words, Sai by a Seita, where Eidachot is believed to say that Nitma, and she's no longer Sheisa, Sai by a Glarufa, where the Eidachot is Naman to say that they saw the Heirig, and therefore you don't make an Eglarufa, and Al Der Zeb, and again, Eidachot which says Mezbaila. Chutz, Me'eidachot Shel Shvua, She'ein Mechayiv in Shvua, Ella be'edus eid kosher, haroy litztaref ha'macher, v'yischayev zeh nishbal piv moment. Now, as the pasuk says, lo yokum eidachot b'ish. An eidachot can't be yokum b'ish. A proper eidachot. Even a proper eidachot is lo yokum eidachot b'ish. Aval kom hu l'shvua. But this eidachot, again, a proper eidachot, which means a proper eidachot, meaning an eidachot which could be mitzaref with another eidachot, and become two Eidim, so he could be Mechayiv Shvua. So the Eidachot, which is Mechayiv Shvua, is only an Eidachot, which if he would be started with a second person, he would be Mechayiv Mammon. So now that there's only one person, he's Mechayiv Shvua. Masha'en Kain, the other things where there's a limit, over there, there's not really an amount. You have the L'chur and Havonas Hadvarim is different. Over here by an Eidachot, there's a certain Amonis. The Amonis is not to the extent where you'll be Moitzi Mammon, but rather to the extent where you only be Mechayiv Shvua. Masha'inkin b'negel l'moshel egla rufa. The din is it's only by leira. Oh, nobody saw him. Masha'inkin the Eidachot is claiming he saw it. And al der zeh b'negel seita. Over there, the word is that there's a suffix, and this suffix could be niftar through the fact that it's that she drinks from the mayim hamorim. Masha'inkin, if there's an Eidachot that says that they saw her being nitma, so that suffix is already not a regular suffix, it's a suffix which is very strong. You could say it's more noita to Isser, and therefore the Torah didn't give that option of having Meiseta. So it's not really 100% an amonis. And over there, the Torah said, over there the din is that even if the Eidachot is not a kosher Eidachot, it's a Isha or apostle, is also Naman. Al Kopon, that's the din. It could be this is not the real Hezber. Lepel, the din is azay, that there's an Eidachot is naman by Seita, an Eidachot is naman by Egla Rufa, and an Eidachot is naman the Gabi Lahati Isha Labaila. That din, these Eidachot, is always not lavdafka kosher, could be even apostle and Isha. Then there's another din that Eidachot Minatera could be Mechayev a Shvua. That din is only Eidachot, which is a regular Eid, a kosher Eidus, and he could have been mitzdaref with another Eid in order to be Mechayev Mammon. So until he's mitzdaref with another Eid to be Mechayev Mammon, he's Mechayev Shvua. That's it. Now the Rambam starts a new din. Al pishnayim Eidim, al pishleisha Eidim, The pasuk says Al Pishnayim Eidim Shleish Eidim. So the Mishnah asks, L'chura, if Shnayim Eidim are enough, so obviously Shleish Eidim are enough. So it means Lasi Shleisha Kishnayim. The pasuk is writing Shnayim Shleisha to teach us that Shleisha has a din of Shnayim and what prat? Because Ma Shnayim Mem Tzechem Mem Korav Apostle L'Dachvat Eidus. By Shnayim, obviously, if there's two Eidus and one of them became a was Nimsa Korav Apostle, so the bottle is Eidus because there's no Eidus. There's Afa Shleisha, even if there's three Eidim, V'uadin Lemeya, Im Nimsa Echem Mem Korav Apostle is bottle Eidus. There's a din. Baby din the first is baby din the So when you have a group of 3 Eidim or a group of 100 Eidim, as we'll soon learn in Behemshech, what's called a group of Eidim. If you have a group of Eidim and one of them is apostle, so then they all become apostle. That's the din of Eidah Shabbatul Mitzvah Shabbatul Kula. There's Eidim. So no, just like when there's 2 and one of them became apostle, so there's no Eidus anymore. There's obviously that it's apostle because there's only one. So Al Derech Zeh, when there's 3 and there's one of them became apostle, so all of them become apostle because they all have a din of one group. But when do we say that when there's 3 and one of them is apostle, the whole group becomes apostle? That all of them wanted to become Eidim. So in other words, there was a group of 3, let's say, and all of them want to be Eidim, and one of them is apostle. So since they all want to be Eidim, so they're all apostle. The one puzzle causes all of them to become puzzle. But if they weren't niskav l'kulam l'hoid, whereas the pashas, that means the puzzle didn't have kavanah l'hoid, the puzzle wasn't interested in being yoid, is ma yasu shnei achim b'chlal ha'am v'rog shaharig zeh. So if 2 brothers see someone, there's a number of people seeing someone kill someone, and lepel amongst them there's 2 brothers. So if those 2 brothers want to be mitzdarif to become Eidim together, so they're going to apostle the whole group. So the answer is that those Shnei Achim shouldn't have kavanah l'hoid. When he saw something which you could say Eidus about, so if they're going to become part of those Eidus, so it's going to become Nimsechem and Korav Apostle. So the way they don't become part of the Eidus is through the fact that they're not mischav l'hoid. So according to the Rambam, the Pashas Advarim, the Rambam comes out that if you have Eidim that see something happen, and they're all miskaven lahoid, the psulim are also miskaven lahoid. So those psulim, since they're miskaven lahoid, even though they didn't come to, they weren't made in Bezdin, there was no hador at all, but they were miskaven lahoid. So that makes them part of the group of the Eidim, and since they're part of the group of the Eidim, so they invalidate all the other Eidim. Now, v'keitzad boitkin hadover, how do we check? A large group of Eidim come to Bezdin. Kat achas, as one group, is Oimru Lahem. So we say to the kat, K'sheri'isim zeh shaharak, eichaval, lohoyed basam eliris. Now the word basam over here doesn't mean basam lebezdin. It means basam to go and see the episode. In other words, there was an episode happening, and you became closer to see the actual thing happening. So you came closer, why? Because you wanted to be Eidim on this story? Or you just wanted to see, you wanted to be a spectator of the story. Nachamol. When you saw this person killing or being chayvel, lahoyed basam, the word basam over there means basam liris. When you came to see it, you come to see it you came to see it because you wanted to become an aid on the story, or liris, or you just wanted to see the story. Is kol mishayemer libasi lahoyed olav. I didn't go there to be an aid. I just was curious to see it. Ela liris. Ma'adover, I just came as part of the general Am, not as becoming an aid. I was just a regular spectator, or someone watching the story. Is mafrishne, so we separate him from the rest of the kat, and he doesn't have a din of being part of this kat. Because since he didn't have a zin to be an aid, he's not part of this kat. And v'chil chol misha omar lohoyed basi, someone that says, no, I came because I wanted to be an aid, ulechaven Eidus, and I was trying to be mechaven Eidus to see the Eidus to be able to be a proper aid. So then is mafrishne, so then we are mafrisha. So we separate this group between the people that were watching just as regular spectators, watchers, or people that were watching and wanted to become Eidim. Now, amongst the people that wanted to say Eidus, we find a Korav apostle, so Eidus kulam b'telos, so all of them become potlos. So the Eidus kulam potlos, again, Im Nimtza be'elish nischaven l'hoyed karev apostle, so then Eidus kulam b'teila, they all become apostle. Bamedvar mamurim the shoyibem karev apostle. Amongst the people that were nischaven l'hoyed, there was a karev apostle. So then the whole group becomes apostle. Avalim hoyu kulam ksherim, but if all of them were kosher, so then you don't have to be a person that was mischaven l'hoyed in order to be kosher Eidus. There's the person that was mischaven l'hoyed, he causes that the crowd should become apostle. The other people should also become apostle. Masha'enkin, the person, if there was nobody who was apostle, and lepel, there were people that was nischaven l'hoyed and the people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed. You don't have to be a nischaven l'hoyed in order to be an Eidus. That's what he's saying. So then we say that there's a difference if we're nischaven l'hoyed or not nischaven l'hoyed. Avalim hoyu kulam ksherim is echad ha-mischayev l'hoyed ve'echad shalei nischaven l'hoyed hail v'ro adover v'kivan Eidus lepel, he saw it and he was mechaven his Eidus, he knows what he saw. V'hoysu sham asro chetchen hadin al piv bein b'dinim momenes bein b'dinim nefashos. And b'pashtos, even if there were people, nobody was nischaven l'hoyed. There was a person. There were people watching the story. They weren't thinking about b'shas ma'aseh that they're going to be Eidus. But lepel, they saw the story and they're able to say over the story exactly how they saw it. So nevertheless, they could become Eidim. You don't have to be a nischaven l'hoyed in order to be an Eid. Masha'enkin, according to the Ram, if you were a nischaven l'hoyed while you were seeing the story, so then you have a din of an Eid, and therefore if there's other Eidim, and lepel, this person is a karev apostle, so then it's nimsa echad mem karev apostle is Eidus b'teila. Then he becomes echad karev apostle Eidus b'teila. Now, b'negeh this din, it knows like this. If you have, let's say you have 20 Eidim, and 10 of them nischaven l'hoyed, 10 of them weren't nischaven l'hoyed, and the 10 people, amongst the 10 people that were nischaven l'hoyed, there was a person that was apostle. So for sure it causes that the other 10 people should also be apostle. The other 10 people should also be apostle. The question is, now that we're saying in the Rambam that people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed could also say Eidus, so will the person that was nischaven l'hoyed and being apostle cause to invalidate the people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed? Maybe they're only apostle the people that was nischaven l'hoyed. Masha'enkin, the people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed, so maybe it doesn't invalidate. So in Lashon HaRambam the Rambam says, "V'chol misha im nimtzu be'elu shnischaven l'hoyed karev apostle is Eidus kulam b'teila." Nachmal im nimtzu be'elu shnischaven l'hoyed karev apostle Eidus kulam b'teila. So Lech Mishnah is medayik that since it says Eidus kulam b'teila, it means even those people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed. In other words, you have people that were nischaven l'hoyed and they were karev apostle, and there were people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed, and those people that are really kosher Eidus, but since amongst the people that are here Eidim are psulim, so therefore they invalidate also the people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed. That's the Lashon Eidus kulam b'tulim. The Maribei Rav is medayik, no, in nimtzu be'elish nischaven l'hoyed is kulam b'teila. Kulam b'teila is going on the elish nischaven l'hoyed. Amongst the nischaven l'hoyed kulam b'teila, but not the people that were later nischaven l'hoyed. So in this din, there's a machlekes of achreinim. What's the pshat? Does the person that was nischaven l'hoyed invalidate the people that weren't nischaven l'hoyed? They certainly invalidate the other people that were nischaven l'hoyed. If all of them were nischaven l'hoyed and one of them was apostle, so for sure it's apostle. The question is, if there's also people that were later nischaven l'hoyed, could they still remain kosher? In the Hamshach of the Ram says, "Bamedvar mamurim," that we're saying that there's an issue is b'shahayi b'm karev apostle. B'shahayi b'm karev apostle, then there's a problem. Masha'enkin avim hoyu kulam ksherim is echad ha-mischaven l'hoyed v'echad shlei nischaven l'hoyed hail v'ro adover v'kivan Eidus v'hoy shesam asro chetchen adin al piv bein b'dinim momes bein b'dinim nefashos. So l'chura the Pashas Lashon HaRambam is that when could you be chetchen adover al pi those people that were lei nischaven l'hoyed only if there wasn't someone that was nischaven l'hoyed that was apostle. That's l'chura Lashon HaRambam. Bamedvar mamurim that there's a problem shoyim and karev apostle. Avalim hoyu kulam ksherim. So then that person could say Eidus l'chura labdafka, even if there was a apostle. But as long as the apostle was nischaven l'hoyed and these weren't nischaven l'hoyed, so they should also be able to say Eidus l'chura according to the Maribei Rav. I'm saying the Pashas Lashon HaRambam. It sounds like the din that a person that wasn't nischaven l'hoyed could say Eidus is only b'chiyah gavna that amongst the people that was nischaven l'hoyed there isn't someone that's apostle. That's this din. Then there's an issue whether or not the apostles, even if the ksherim weren't aware of this puzzle. In other words, the ksherim had no idea that there was this puzzle that was nischav l'hoid. So the ksherim were nischav l'hoid, the puzzle was nischav l'hoid, so they become one group because they were both puzzle nischav l'hoid. In Rambam, the Pashtus Advarim, it sounds that way, that since he was nischav l'hoid, whether the ksherim knew about this puzzle or didn't know about this puzzle, but Lepil, he invalidates the other people that were nischav l'hoid. L'chura, that's the Pashtus Advarim. It's just nachamol. According to the Rambam, being nischav l'hoid itself makes you into an aid, and that causes that nimtzach memkarav apostle Eidus and Betela. Masha'inkin, according to other Rishonim, according to Tesus and according to the Rosh, only if they actually came to say Eidus could they become an aid. Masha'inkin, if they just saw the Eidus, so that doesn't become a din of an aid, and therefore they don't have a din of nimtzach memkarav apostle. This negay also benegay kedushin, the negay the kedushin that if there's Eidim that see the kedushin, there's no haggadas Eidus that saw the kedushin. Is it shaykhs that by kedushin there should also be a problem of nimtzach memkarav apostle, and because of that reason, the miyachad Eidim, and they say that only certain Eidim should be the Eidim in order to avoid the problem of nimtzach memkarav apostle. If you'll have someone that will be by the kedushin and it will be nischaven l'hoid, be nischaven to be part of the Eidim, and he's a karev. So the question is, could he invalidate the group? And then there's another svara that Bechlal by Eidus, which are Eidikiyum, the whole musik of Nimtzach Memkarav Apostle doesn't apply. The whole din of Nimtzach Memkarav Apostle only applies to Eidim, which are Eidus that are going to have to say their Agada and Bezin. So even though they didn't say the Agada yet, but they were watching in order to be Eidim to say the Agada. Mashaik and Kedushin, it's not to say Eidim to say the Agada. They're watching the story. And Memela B'chi Agam, there could be the whole musik of Nimtzach Memkarav Apostle doesn't apply. Halacha Vav. Shtar shahoyu Eidav merubim. A shtar which has a lot of Eidim, more than two, and v'nimtza echad mem posel. And one of these Eidim were posel. Oy shahoyu behem shnayim kreven zelazeh. Again, so you have Eidim psulim over here, because shnayim kreven zelazeh are psulim. V'harei eino Eidim kayomim kedei lishalesam. Why did they sign? In other words, what purpose did they sign? Did they sign as Eidus, or they just signed stamazeh? Is im yesham Eidus brura. If there's Eidus brura, shekulam yoshvu lachtem, that they all sat down to sign on the star, they were Eidim on the star, shariz nischav nukulam lahoyed, is ariz a bottle. So the star is bottle because of the din of nimtzach memkarav apostle, Eidus and betelav. In lav, but if we don't have Eidus brura, that they were nischav lahoyed, so then tiskayim Eidus b'shar. So the other Eidim, we look at the other Eidim, we assume that these Eidim that were psulim, that signed on the star, weren't really Eidim on the star. They were just like Lires Banu. They weren't really Eidim on the star. Even though L'chur it's a suffix, and this star is going to be Meitzi Moment, so it's brought down that the Cheskes star, normally we say that there's a Chazakah that a star is always done Bekashrus. So the Chazakah that the star was done Bekashrus also applies that the Eidim were Ksherim. We see beferish that there's Eidim Psulim, so we say no, that the Chazakah that the star was done Bekashrus tells us that the Eidim Psulim were there not, and they didn't invalidate the star because they didn't come, they weren't there Almanas Lachtem, unless you know for sure that they were. How could Mekayim the Eidus B'shtar? Why don't we say that Nimtzach Memkarav Apostle Eidus and Betela? It's possible that the Ksherim first signed, and they left a place for the Godel, someone that's greater than them, to Chasman. So since he was Chasam Shlei Midaitam, so therefore he's not considered part of the Eidus B'shtar. A part of the Eidus B'shtar. And Afal Pi, Sha'ed Shachasam Tchila B'shtar Hu Apostle. So L'chur, it sounds like he signed before everyone, so he was part of it. Not like the story that we're saying that two of them signed, they left a place. Because nevertheless, Ariya Shtar Kosher, because we say that could be the Eidim, which will left a place for the Gadol, left a place on top of them. They taka didn't sign right under the star. They signed a little further down, and expecting that the person that was a Gadol Mehem should sign on top of them. So the fact that the Eid is signed on top of them, that doesn't mean that the Eid was there to sign on. This puzzle was there as being part of the Eidim on the star. Now the Pelham is medayik from the Saram and knows like there's two things. First of all, that if the Eidim came together, even though two Eidim signed on the star, and when they signed on the star was a star kosher, because there was only two Eidim on the star. And Lepel later on signed a puzzle, which they had intent that he should sign. So then Bechia Gavna, the star is a star puzzle. Because as long as that, the only reason why it's kosher is we assume that they never had an intent for this puzzle to be part of it. But if they would have had an intent, even though they signed originally, and when they signed it at that point in time the star was kosher, later on when the Eid comes into the star, so then it becomes part of the star. Then it becomes part of the star. Becomes part of the star. Masha'inkin, if an Eid signs on the star later, and he wasn't part of the star, so Lepel, that's considered that this Eid the Eid doesn't invalidate the star, and the star still remains kosher with the kosher Eid. Halacha ches. Kol Eid sheheyed bedin nefashis is eine meire bedin zeh nerag. He shouldn't say any opinion about this din of the nerag. This is other dinim. A person could go ahead by dinim mominus. The Eid could say his opinion. In other words, the Dayanim are discussing it, so the Eid could say his opinion. Masha'inkin, when it comes to Eid in the Nefashis, the Eid, which said Eidus about the din in the Nefashis, shouldn't say his opinion. We learn from a pasuk with the Rambam soon bring. Shouldn't say his opinion about this din. Leila schus v'leila cheva. V'im omar yeshli lamed al schus. Even if he says yeshli lamed al schus, mishat kenesi. Now if he says lamed al cheva, so even from the Talmidim you don't listen to, as we learned before. Masha'inkin, even if he says lamed al schus, so normally we listen to. Masha'inkin, if it's coming from the Eid, is you don't listen to mishat kenesi. Shnema ve'eid echad liyana benefesh lomus. Now the Loshna pasuk lomus sounds like to kill him, but the Chazal says that this din liyana benefesh lomus is bein l'schuz bein l'cheva. Yumau zeh shnema lomus. It sounds like it means to kill him. It means kalemer eid sheheid benefesh lomus, an eid that's being made about a nefesh which is being done whether lomus or not. Liyana dover eliyoid v'shishtek. This says. That's the eid echad liyana benefesh, which is standing on trial, which is standing in din b'negei lomus. That's b'negei nefashos. Aval b'din mominus yesh le'eid l'lamed schus v'cheva. The eid can say either schus or cheva. Aval le'yimonim and dayanim, but the eid can become the dayan. In other words, the eid is saying eidus. Besides that, there has to be 3 dayanim. V'le'yaseh dariyin she'ein eid nasa dayan. Also, there's a din that the aid cannot become a dayan. But on the other hand, the aid could go ahead and say an opinion about the din Torah, and therefore the dayanim can listen to me, that they accept it, they don't accept it. Now, we're saying an aid is ein aid nasa dayan. When we're talking about a dion which needs eidim and atera, so the din is that an aid which is a minatera dike aid cannot become a dayan. This is a din which minatera you have to be done about it. There's edim minatera, there's a dayanim minatera, so that aid can become a dayan. Aval b'shel divrayim. If we're dealing with something which the whole din is only a drabanan, the whole musik that you need eidus and that you need dayanim is only a drabanan. So over there is eid nasa dayan. Ketzad echod shehevi saget. A person brought a get. The din is that I may be getting din sayam. Now this is a drabanan dikekiyum of this get, and as a result of that, even if the Baal be ma'ar, we won't accept what he's saying. It's a drabanan dikekiyum of this get. So the din is now this kiyum, normally kiyum shtaris has to be b'shleisha. So over here, this aid which is bringing the get, and he's the one that's saying b'fanei nichtav, b'fanei nechtam, he could become part of the 3 dayanim that are being mekayim this get. Is hu shnayim nes nesulah? They in front of them they give it to her. V'nimtza ki'ilu not losim bezin. She has to take it in a bezin, because there has to be a kiyum of this get, and the b'fanei nichtav, b'fanei nechtam is the kiyum. So one of the dayanim which are involved in the kiyum is this aid which brought the get, because this whole din of kiyum is only a din drabanan. Is hu shnayim nes nesulah v'nimtza ki'ilu not losim bezin. It's as if she took it in bezin, because the aid also became part of the bezin. V'chein kol kiyetzim is any other din which is only a din eidus midrabanan and dayanis midrabanan. So over there the din is aid nasa dayan.